Well, listen, when I was growing up, we would have hog killing days over at my grandpa Campbell's. And it was a really big thing. And I tell about it in the book, too. I put stories in here. But hog killing day was a big fun day because it was all hands on deck. Everybody, your aunts and uncles, your great grandparents, everybody was there because we all had to work because you didn't kill just one hog. You killed several.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Hayden Alabama Podcast. I'm Philip.
I'm Shane.
And I'm Danna.
Many of you may recognize Miss Danna. She is also a fellow content creator, among other things.
I am.
We're going to talk about that more here in just a second. But she is a Haydenite.
Yes,
and
I am.
A fellow neighbor. And Shane and I were talking. It was like, we would be crazy not to have Miss Danna on.
Oh, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be here because I've known you boys for a long, long time.
Since we was little bitty.
Since you was little bitty.
That's true.
I don't want to talk about how many years you've known us.
I know it. Me either. But anyway, it's good to be here.
Dude, how in the world did you get to write a book?
Well, it was really the Lord doing this, and He paved the way. Okay. And I didn't know it, but when my husband was elected to state representative, we had to go to Montgomery, and we stayed there about 4 to 5 months out of the year. And while we're there, I'm his assistant. I'm a retired teacher, so I go with him. I'm his assistant because they don't have a staff. And so I'm down there doing what he needs me to do, etc. And everyone at all these meetings would want my business card, and they would hand me theirs, and I didn't have any. Teachers, I don't have a retired teacher business card. Yeah. But so anyway, I thought, I'm going to, give them some recipes. So I had these little recipe cards, and I would just hand out a recipe card that had my information on one side. But anyway, started handing out recipe cards back in 2013. And then I printed up some more and would give more recipe cards. So all the foodies down there now know who I am and everything, etc. But what ended up happening, I got this phone call from tourism, the Alabama Department of Tourism. And a lot of times I would get calls from different people down there, and I would know that they needed David. They always needed David, and they, for some reason, had my number. And I would say, and I answered the phone, hey, I know you need David, but he's on the tractor, and I will get him to you as soon as he gets in from the field. And they're like, oh, no, Miss Standridge, we need to talk to you. And I'm like, you need to talk to me? What is it? And they said, we've got to do a cookbook for the state of Alabama for the bicentennial. And the last, and when we were 150 years old, the governor's wife did it. And they said, and our governor's a lady and she's not married and there's nobody to fill that spot. Can you come to a meeting? And I was like, sure. Now, look, I have like 200 plus cookbooks. I was digging through cookbooks. I had a stack, took them down there and went to that meeting. And that's how it ended up starting, is that after a few meetings, they said, we want you to be the author. We want you to be the face of the book. And, we were zoning in on culinary heritage recipes from across the state. So that first cookbook has recipes from reps and senators and the governor and from all across the state of Alabama. Every district is represented. It was fun to work on, too. Fun to work on.
Just couldn't really see that coming.
I didn't. And it's all because I was handing out those recipe cards because I know the part of the background story of who called me, and they had talked to somebody that knew what was going on in Montgomery, and they said, we have got to have somebody for this cookbook. And this person that knew me and all the things, she said, have I got the woman for you? And then she gave them my information. So I'm very thankful for that. And the whole thing was God paving the way. It wasn't me. But every penny that was made from that first cookbook went to the restoration and the maintenance of our state capitol. So it was all the labor of love for my state that I adore. And our families have been here forever, for a long, long time. And so it was just a labor of love.
A labor of love for sure, but then that led to a bestseller. Do I remember that right?
It did. This is a bestseller on Amazon.
That's incredible.
And it's amazing to me because I'm like, it's just my little Southern recipes and it's my family's and stuff we've been eating for generations.
Well, obviously, there's a reason you've been eating it for generations, and that reason's in the book.
Yes, there is too. And I'll tell you that Psalms 34 Bakery that's in Hayden, they make my old-fashioned carrot cake. So if you ever get a hankering for that, go buy and
that's your recipe.
One. That's my recipe. Sure is.
We'll put a link in the description notes to your book on Amazon if somebody's wanting to pick that up.
The surprise over all of the stuff that we've talked about when I started doing these cooking videos, I had one, and this is how it came about. Sometimes I get tired of following recipes, and I'm like, I'm going to create one of my own. And I wanted some guacamole. How do you say guacamole? How do you say it?
A little guacamole in your hands, it means a little guacamole in your pocket.
Okay. Well, anyway.
Okay.
We don't know what that means, but
I don't know what that means either.
I'm not putting that in my hand, in my pocket.
You need to be better with that tortilla chip, it sounds like.
Listen, what happened is one day I thought, I'm going to make it how I want it to taste. This is nobody else but me making it, and I'm in there by myself. So I took 2 avocados. Except more ripe than that. I took 1 lemon.
2 avocados
and
lemon.
Then I was in a bind because I needed the right spices to make guacamole. And I thought, what do I have in there? I have a lot of spices because I kind of collect them. So I started looking around in there, and I came up with this, Tony's Creole seasoning. And I put half a teaspoon in with this. And
that's your ingredients. 4. You got 4 items.
Yes. And really, if you count this as one, this. So I mixed it up together, and I was like, oh, my gosh, that is so good.
This is really good.
And then I gave David some, and he's like, Danna. And I'm like, I know. And then it's not published. I just did it on a video. And I have had over 901,000 people watch this video and make it. Yeah. I've got people that stop me and say, I love your guacamole.
I love your guacamole. Sometimes the best things are you just happen up on them, just find them.
You say there's more than one right way to do something.
What you say, that there's more than one way to skin a cat. You know, that's actually talking about a catfish.
Well, I didn't know that.
That's what it is.
You know how many times I questioned that?
A meow cat my whole time.
Ever?
You've never questioned?
Not one time.
No, me either.
You were just going along with that. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Well,
I've skinned a lot of things. Why not?
Why not a cat? But actually, it's actually a catfish. So, you know, when you skin a catfish, you can hang them up by a nail, or you can start with their tail, or you can fillet them. You can do, there's many ways to skin a catfish. So that's what that's about. It's a little lesson for you there. A little country curse.
Did I ever tell you about the first time that I saw a catfish skin?
Nope.
Let's hear it. Now you've opened that can of worms. You've opened that can of worms. Let's go ahead.
Well, I was just a little boy, probably 6, and our grandfather had a catfish pond. We'd have a catfish fry at least one time every summer. Sure. A whole family would go up to the pond, and everybody would catch. And so all the men would go back to the pump house over at his house, and the ladies would go and prepare different things for tomorrow, for the next day.
Coleslaw, potato salad.
So we went in there, and it was the first time I ever got invited to the men pump house. And so I'm over there messing with the catfish, and my Papa Hayes, my great-grandfather, reaches in there and gets one and puts it down on the ground.
Oh, dear.
And he grabbed his hammer, and I thought, I'm not real sure what he's going to do with a hammer. And it was one of those wiki moments. I mean, just and that hammer was buried down in that catfish head. Limp went the catfish and the skin and commenced. And I thought, well, I never would have thought to have done that.
See that coming.
But you ain't got to worry about offending you after you bury that hammer in his head. And I thought, well, okay.
All right.
Oh, dear. Were you devastated?
No, I said, I want to do the next one.
Oh, did you really?
Well, I've always liked to ball bats and different things, you know. So.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Well, listen, when I was growing up, we would have hog killing days over at my Grandpa Campbell's. And it was a really big thing. And I tell about it in the book, too. I put stories in here. But Hog Killing Day was a big fun day because it was all hands on deck. Everybody, your aunts and uncles, your great grandparents, everybody was there because we all had to work because you didn't kill just one hog, you killed several. And I remember when I realized that, you know, my grandpa would get me and carry me out and let me pet the pigs and let me pet all the animals. And I remember when I realized
you were a vegetarian?
What we were doing, and that was that pig that I used to be petting. And so I, was pretty quiet trying to digest all that. But it was intriguing watching them do everything. Yeah. And I had this one cousin, and I didn't put it in the book, but he was a little bit older than us. And when he would come over, there were 3 of us girls. And I know one time he got an eyeball and chased us all over the place with that eyeball.
With the pig eyeball.
The pig eyeball.
Eyeball.
Yeah. But it made me
Childhood
tough.
memories.
It made me tough because when I was an anatomy teacher at the high school, we dissected eyeballs.
Yeah.
And it was like, no problem.
They call those
I've been chased by them before.
core memories is what they call that, right, Miss Danna?
I see you.
I know.
Those are the ones that you have reoccurring dreams about. You're sleeping and then the
I was
eyeballs
like,
after me. Wait a minute.
There's that eyeball. I know. Funny things that you learn from your cousins.
Sure.
Lessons learned at hog skinning.
It's been a long time since I've been to a hog skinning.
Oh man, it's good. And I remember in the kitchen, they had this table and they would pile up the sausage. We would do our own sausage. I say we, I watched them, but they would grind all that meat up and would have a huge thing. It was like the table was bigger than this and it would be full. They would get the mix and they would mix all the seasoning in with it. And then they would cook some and we would eat it and see if it was the right or not.
Yeah. Might need to flavor it a little bit better.
Might need to flavor it. But I guess I had this uncle that was a jokester, and one time he pretended like he was eating raw meat. And, I'm a little kid. I'm just watching them. And then I'm like, oh, my gosh, they're going to make me eat that raw meat. And so I just got out of there.
Got to go.
So I'm out.
I'm going to find somewhere else to be as opposed to eating
I know
raw
it.
hog.
Well, I wrote
raw
about
hog
that
meat.
in there, and my uncle, when he saw it, he said, Danna, I didn't really eat that. I was pretending. And I said, you're a good actor because I thought you did.
Let me ask you
and
this.
you were going to make me eat it.
Do you have a fine hog jaw recipe in there, Miss Danna?
I do with my black-eyed peas.
Yes.
It's called New Year's
New
black-eyed
Year's Day.
peas. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And y'all know we have that tradition, and every year I make the hog jowl black-eyed peas and the turnip greens.
Now, I'm going to tell you, I've questioned quite a few because it's getting more and more popular to process your own meat, right? To have a hog butchered or buying half a cow or whatever. That's kind of getting more and more popular. Well, I think I did this to you. You had some hogs.
You carried them to the slaughterhouse for me.
I carried them for you. And I told Philip, I said, now, when you get up there, make sure that they get you hog jaw. And he looked at me like I had three heads. Like, what in the world are you going to do with the jaw? And I said, make sure that you get that. And he said, well, what do I owe you for hauling the hogs? I said, all you got to do is give me 6 sides or 3 sides, 3 sides for each hog of jaw. That's all I want.
Now you're saying jowl, Jowl.
Yeah. Jowl.
Yeah.
And he did. He paid me 3 sets of hog jaws for hauling his hogs to the slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, it was the best payment I believe I've ever had.
Oh, it's delicious.
You remember how hard it was for us to get that pig up in that trailer?
It was very difficult.
He didn't want to jump up in there.
I think he knew something was up.
What did you do?
We picked him up.
Yeah, I think we ended up
How big
picking
was
him
it?
up.
He was big.
200-something pounds.
We just had time and pick him on up.
Listen, David, when I was dating him, before I started dating him, he raised feeder pigs, and he raised a lot of pigs, and would take them to the sale. Yeah, we have we have a lot of those kind of stories.
Yeah,
that I may not tell all of them right now.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this: the first pair of diamond earrings that he bought me was when I was 16, and he sold a pig to buy them for me. Isn't that sweet? I still have them. I love them.
Now that's a story that you can tell your grandkids.
Yep. I love them. He sold a pig for him.
What are them diamond earrings worth?
A pig.
One pig.
A whole
One
pig.
pig.
Whole hog,
pig.
as they
The
say.
whole hog.
But I can tell y'all another story about me and David too. I'm just going to zip into
Go on
this.
with it. Let's hear it.
When I was trying to get his attention when I was in high school,
Yeah.
I was trying to get his attention. He wasn't acknowledging. So I was trying really hard to get his attention, kind of batting the eyelashes and doing a little flirting, but anyway, it wasn't working. So one morning I got up and my Papa Swan said, we got to haul hay when we get home. So you come home, you don't do anything but maybe grab a snack and you get out to the hayfield. Yes, sir. And, he was the boss and we did what he said. So at school that day, David decided to take notice and he said, hey, why don't we go out and do something after school?
What
and I'm
time,
like,
Mr. David?
David. And then I didn't really like for people to know that we had to work, so I never told many people at school that we had to work. Now I don't care. I don't know why I felt that way either,
Sure.
but it was something I just didn't
Adolescence.
tell.
What can you do?
Yeah, it's confusing time.
That's
but
right.
anyway, I said, what am I going to do? If I don't go, I can't go out with him. But if I don't tell him why, then he'll think I don't like him. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And finally I thought, I'll just tell him, I'm sorry, David, can we do it another day? I've got to haul hay when we get home. And he was like, oh, you got to haul hay? I said, yeah. I said, Papa will be mad if I'm not there. I have to be there. And he said, I'll just come help you.
Well, I think he was testing the waters here, Miss Danna. Just
think
wanting to
so?
know exactly what you're telling, right? Or
Yeah.
you got to haul hay.
Am I hauling hay or not?
Right.
Am I just
Are you just trying to put on a little
put
show?
him off? Yeah. Anyway, he got up there with us. He had to haul hay with us, and they put him to stacking. It was the square bales. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly.
And so my sisters and I were not very large. We were tiny. And anyway, we'd throw the bales up, and then he would stack them. And I'm telling you, he won over my grandfather, my father, the whole kit and caboodle family. He was a favorite after the hay hauling day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long
How
as
many
you haul
years
hay.
now?
42 years we've been married, but we dated a year before that. So we've been together
so the
for
hayfield
43
was
years.
43 years ago.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Do you know what the children's table is?
The children's table is funny because I remember, being there. And let me tell you something else you learn at the children's table. I learned things to mix ingredients that I never even thought was an option.
Like what?
I learned that, and I will never forget this. Talking about the children's table, and this is something that everyone may not be aware of, but growing up in a missionary Baptist church, you had the preacher over quite regular for Sunday lunch.
Fried chicken.
We
did too.
Hamburger steak or whatever, pot roast, beef stew, whatever it was. The preacher'd come over to eat with, and then at that point in time, the preacher went somewhere to eat every Sunday, right?
Yes.
Well, he had a daughter by the name of Robin, and Robin and I were same age, very good friends. And we of course, preacher come over, we were running around. We had to sit at the children's table together with her older brother and then my younger brother and our cousins. We'd all be at the children's table. Robin loved and taught me how to put ketchup on a roll.
No.
Ketchup on rolls.
Is it good?
It's phenomenal.
Have you ever eaten
You still do that?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't do it anymore. But
Yeah.
but at the time, as a kid, I was
Burn
like,
the roll.
you done run it.
Burn the roll.
Butter. Butter's what you put on.
Well, that's what the adults always did. They put butter on there, But she would, and she would not eat a roll without ketchup, and she'd squirt that ketchup on there, eat it.
I've
and
never
just
heard of
savor it.
No.
Now, when I married into David's family, they did something with ketchup that I wasn't used to, and they would put it on peas.
I've seen it, but I've never done it.
Peas. His sister did. Nobody else in the family did. And I'd be like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm putting ketchup on.
Ketchup
like,
on my peas.
Why? And she's like, it's good. I'm like,
That's what Daddy
that's
taught me to do.
unnatural.
Well, let me follow in suit here. We got 3 ways. The most prominent weird thing to me, I know people do this, but to me it was weird. So I have family in Lynn, Alabama, which is Winston County, and we're from Blount County. And I'm talking about, I thought we were in the woods. But anyway, Winston County, they do things a little different out there. But anyway, we go out there. We have a big lunch, the whole thing, big family thing. Well, a couple hours later, I got hungry, just like kids do. And I said, I need a sandwich. I need something. They said, oh, come on back here. We'll fix you a sandwich. You like banana sandwich? Yeah, I like a banana sandwich. Yeah. So I'm sitting there thinking,
Don't tell us.
so I said, yeah, I'm telling you.
Don't tell
I'm telling you what they did. So I'm sitting there.
You
They
already
get.
heard this.
I never told him this.
but
so
I know where it's
They
going.
get out 2 pieces of white loaf bread. They're on fire. They're doing good. They get that banana, break it in
Right in
half,
line.
slice it long ways. We got 4 slices of banana. Here comes the peanut butter on the other side of the bread, and then
Yeah.
there was one more jar that they
out.
got out.
Oh,
telling you.
what is it?
Mayonnaise.
He can't do mayonnaise.
He can't stand it.
Mayonnaise.
I was sitting there and I thought they were joking with me, and they put that knife down in there, and here they come back out with it. I said, no, what are you
Don't
doing?
ruin
They
it.
said, what do you mean? You don't like mayonnaise on your
Ruined
peanut
it.
butter? I said, you're going to ruin my sandwich. I said, just put the bread down.
What happened? What did they do?
I snatched that sandwich before they put mayonnaise on
Give me
it.
that.
I thought to myself, what have I gotten into up here in Lynn?
Winston, that's the free state of Winston for you right there.
Oh, yeah.
Live free, die hard.
They're living free up there. Mayonnaise on sandwich,
Wow.
peanut butter banana sandwiches.
Have I ever told you about the bologna sandwich? Bologna's a lot similar to Spam.
Mm-hmm.
Nah.
Well, it tastes
I
different.
can't agree. I cannot agree with you
It's
there.
processed meat.
I'll agree with that.
Let's
It's-
go there. Okay.
But it's not the same.
So, as a kid, I did not like bologna. I really didn't. I had
Even fried. You
I
didn't
had
like it
as
even
a
fried?
child, I had no desire for bologna. Well, I was over there working.
You're so spoiled. But go ahead.
I was very
You ever
spoiled.
met this guy?
Yeah.
You're spoiled rotten.
So I was working for her one day. We were in the. I think we were just patching fence. She had a Hereford.
Oh, yeah.
She had a bunch of. She was a Hereford lady. She had
The
a
Walker dog or cows?
Walker dog or cow. She had Hereford. She'd have, run 20, 25 head as long as I remember. And she was needing some fence fixed. So I was fixing fence for her. And it got on up in the day and I had forgotten to eat breakfast that morning. So I was hungry. I was 14, 15 years old.
You were starving.
I was starving. I was hungry. And so she had rode her old Ford pickup up there, and she come up, she said, Shane, I got you lunch fixed for you whenever you're ready. I said, well, thank you, Aunt Marie. I'll be down just a minute. I'm going to fix this little patch. And I thought, man, I can't wait because it's going to be good, whatever it is. When I walk in there and I sit down and she's getting stuff ready and I see her get all stuff and then she reaches in and get that long tube of bologna. I thought, my gracious, I don't even like bologna, right? I can't. But my stomach was saying, oh, yes, you can.
Yeah.
I'll take care of it.
You're going to have something before you go back up there. Well, she had already fried some pieces. She was going to fry her own, but she put mine back on there, warmed it up a little bit, made me that sandwich, and I ate that fried bologna sandwich. And you couldn't have fed me a ribeye and it tasted any
You
better.
were hungry.
Friend, I was so hungry that it was the best bologna I had ever had. Now, from that day forward, I've eaten bologna ever since. But I learned something from that. This is what I learned from that. The Lord's like that a lot, right?
Teaching you lessons.
He'll teach you a lesson.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And when you really need it, when you really desire it, and the Lord gives it to you, it can be bologna sandwich, but you wouldn't trade it for a ribeye steak.
That's exactly right.
If it's what you need, right when you need it.
Yep.
You mentioned bologna. That's a mystery meat. I know Sloppy Joe's not a mystery meat, but I've been waiting to tell this one. Bethany almost killed me the other day.
Was it planned?
No, she didn't plan to do
It's
it.
accidental.
We have two refrigerators.
Mm-hmm.
We have a downstairs refrigerator and upstairs refrigerator. Well, sometimes the downstairs it's overflow. Downstairs is overflow.
I understand that. I
And
have
soft
two
drinks.
as well. Yeah.
Overflow and soft drinks. She was working.
First world problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. She was working. I'm at the house by myself, which is not good. Don't ever leave me by myself. I'm hungry. So I go to the first refrigerator, nothing. And I said, well, maybe there's something down here.
Maybe.
She cooked tacos. And I thought, well, she'd have had some leftovers. I couldn't find them. I said, I bet she put them down there in the basement. So I go down there. There it is, Tupperware bowl right there in the back. I said, oh, it's slid right here in the back. So I get it out, open it up. Looks just like Sloppy Joe meat to me. So I head upstairs, put it in the microwave, fire that thing up, get it out. It's steaming. It's smelling good. I'm hungry. I open the bowl, smell it. Oh, that's good. One spoon after another. I thought, man, this doesn't taste exactly like the taco meat.
Come on, man.
The other day. So I'm hammering it. I just one spoon after another.
Come on,
I finished that up, put the bowl in the sink,
You
roll.
polished it.
I finished the whole thing. I'm talking about a Tupperware bowl, about like that. Finished the whole thing. I'm rocking and rolling the rest of my day. That night, Bethany comes home and she sees that Tupperware bowl in the sink.
Oh, no.
And she said, tell me you didn't eat what was in that Tupperware bowl. I said, is that taco meat you cooked the other night? She said,
fill up.
That was sloppy Joe meat from August. It had been in the refrigerator for a month and a half. Solid
It
gold.
wasn't green?
No, I ate every bit of it. Never got sick. And so after that time, I said, you know what? God has got a plan for my life.
That's right.
You've been preparing that iron stomach for a while.
I was going to say
and a
iron
half.
stomach. Iron stomach.
I won't eat meat in the refrigerator after 4 days.
You didn't know. Though.
This had been 45 days.
That mine got
That
you.
is awful.
You didn't even
But
know
you
what
should have
was
seen
happening.
her face though. When she
Good
saw
gravy.
that Tupperware bowl, she just turned as wide as that sheet of paper and she looked at me like, this could be it.
This could be
You're
bad.
a goner. This could be it. E. coli,
Show did.
Staphylococcus, whatever else is in there.
I
Man.
thought you were going to say, and I got so sick that
I
night.
thought it was
that's
coming,
what
too. I figured it was on the way. You didn't
Okay,
get
he
sick.
got sick.
I figure I added something to my immune system. that
You
day.
probably
I'm going to tell
did.
you something. You got an awesome stomach if you can eat stuff like that.
Aunt Marie's freezer went out one day.
Uh-oh.
She called me in a panic. Lord, Shane, you got to come over here. My freezer's going out. I said, all right, Aunt Marie, we'll be right on over, Well, let's just hurry up whenever you can. I said, Miss Aunt Marie, I will get there. I promise. We got over there 45 phone calls later, right? But we got there. And she had an extra freezer, so she wanted to try to salvage some things. And now Aunt Marie grew up in the Depression, so let's remember that, right? You don't throw away
Nothing. Not
There was
even a
yard
twist
onions in
tie.
there.
You keep it all.
everything's in
Yeah,
there.
I know. My grandparents did the same.
But unfortunately, Aunt Marie did not understand how far gone the freezer was, right? It had done thawed out and had been a minute. She just hadn't gone down there to see.
Oh.
And so we get down there and we're cleaning it out. We're cleaning it out.
Is there maggots? Tell me there's
No,
maggots.
fortunately, that had not gotten to the point of magnets. But we're picking up, and this is Aunt Marie though. We take something out, and she'd want to inspect it, and I'd say, Aunt Marie, we can't. You don't want that. That's pork chops. Well, it's fine. Look at it. And I said, Aunt Marie, it's got blue rings around. Like it's got blue. We don't need it.
We
right?
don't need it.
So she inspected all of it. Took a 30-minute job, took 2 hours because she had to check it all. But then we get down to our payment. And now this was a time. Do you remember when Twinkies went out of business? They stopped making them for a little while.
Uh-oh.
Do you remember that? Yeah. Well, this was the time that they had stopped making Twinkies. And it had been at least 5 years.
Oh, come on.
There was a box of Twinkies. And I picked them up and I said, Aunt Marie, you got a box of Twinkies in here. She said, well, Lord, there ain't nothing wrong with them Twinkies. And I said, other than the fact that I know that they ain't made these things in at minimum 5 years. And she said, well, they'll be fine. You just take him home with you. That, since you helped me out, you just take them Twinkies
So that
on
was
home
your
with
payment.
you. So I got paid in
Twinkies.
Twinkies. Not only
2
Twinkies.
hours work.
5-year-old frozen.
5-year-old frozen
that were
Twinkies.
thawed.
Well, here's the
Twinkies.
question, though. Did you eat them?
Come on, Shane.
I plead the
Fess
fifth.
up. Fess up.
I plead the fifth.
You
I
did.
may have tried one of the 5
I know he ate one.
I might have had the box of Twinkies.
Were they the banana
Or did
ones or
you-
the
They were
chocolate?
the banana ones.
Did you feed them to your brother first to make sure they were okay?
Yeah.
Or did you?
I told Steve, hey, just so happened I got some Twinkies.
Yeah.
He ate one. He didn't die, so we
He's still
polished them
good.
off.
So y'all have got stomachs of steel as well.
I guess so, but
Iron
that
stomach, maybe.
probably from, but yeah, getting paid to clean out a freezer for a box of Twinkies. That was
That's a story. That's a good story right there.
that's Aunt Marie for you.
Mama hired me to empty out her canning cabinet one time.
Yeah,
Ooh, did you have to empty out the jars?
Hundreds.
I am so sorry.
So she told me that. She said, I'm going to pay you. I'm going to pay you. I need you to clean this cabinet out for me. And they was up in a storage. Anyway, so I said, where do you want them? And she said, well, I want them all the way across the pasture over there on the wood line, just in case, anything comes up. So I was toting, just as many as I could out there. Well, I got tired of toting those jars. And at first I was being real careful. Unscrew the lid, pop it, and dump it out. Well, I was done with it. So I would go out there and I was just trying to sling them out, slinging. Well, I wasn't paying attention to what I was slinging. You know what I was slinging? Pepper sauce.
Oh, no.
This is July. I've got pepper sauce all over me.
You're burning.
By the time I made it from the wood line to her yard, I went in the house. I said, Mama, what did you have? I mean, I was just burning up. And she said, well, son, hey, you've got pepper sauce. What were you doing? Just out there slinging it around everywhere? And I was like, no.
As a matter of fact,
I don't know how this got all over me, But one thing, But the one thing, though, that grossed me out the most is I went to dump out one of the cans, and I just looked at it, and it was brown. And I said, what would be brown in this can? They canned meat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
That was canned beef in a can. They had been in there for probably 10 years.
Roast beef.
And I said, man,
I ain't dumping out.
just throw that one up in the wood. You're gonna have to buy you another jar.
If you ain't ever had to clean out the cannons, you ain't ever lived. I mean, you sure ain't ever lived in Hayden, Alabama if you ain't ever had to clean that out from your grandmother's house.
Moral of the story: if you're ever pouring out pepper sauce, be careful.
Don't sling it on you.
Don't sling
it's hot
it around.
Stuff. It is hot.
Golly, we've had a good time talking to you, Miss Danna.
I've had a good time. You guys are pretty cool.
That's a compliment.
It is.
We'll take that. We'll be called a lot worse. But so how can people find you?
How can they find me? I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. I have a website, dannastandridge.com. But you can, if you want to see me cook anything, just Google me. Just pull it up on your phone. Danna Standridge potato soup.
Two ends. Double constant.
2 ends. And it'll pop up. My videos will pop up. I've got 3 different videos on how to make potato soup. And or cornbread. My cornbread rocks. So, just type in there, Danna Standridge cornbread, whatever. But if you want the book, it'll come to you on Amazon. You can get it in ebook or you can get it in print book.
Well, y'all make sure y'all check out Miss Danna. And before we go, part of making this possible, we've got 4 sponsors I want to tell you about. Number 1 is Precision Graphics. We got a new sign from them. If you have any sort of printing needs, if you need ink printed on anything, they can take care of you, and that's Precision Graphics. Inc.net. Also, Miss Island Law, thermalhunting.com, and then also our friends at West Blunt Lawn and Tractor. So we appreciate you guys. Y'all check them out. But that's it for the Hayden Alabama Podcast.
Well, I have a little tag that I say at the end of all my shows. Can I
bring
just
it?
bring
Please,
it on? Let me tell you why
it.
I just started saying it because I do, but I have had people tell me several that no one in their life ever says I love you to them except for me. And that's the reason they watch me. So at the end, I always say, the good Lord loves you, and he really does, and I love you too. Y'all go have a really good day and make you some wonderful turnip greens.
Well, we love you, and that's it for the Hayden Alabama Podcast this week. I'm Philip.
I'm Shane.
I'm Danna.
We'll see you next time.